What up, guys? What's going on? How are you? It's your boy Heba coming back at you with another video from inside my carrito, right? Now, this video is basically my response to places like IGN, Destin, Paris Lily, Ryan McCaffrey, and anybody else that continues with these analytical assumptions and fear-mongering of Microsoft is going to get out of the console business and space because their sales keep dropping and dropping on hardware. First and foremost, all these people that keep talking about Microsoft possibly getting out of the hardware business completely seem to forget that Microsoft hardware business has always been around for over 20 years, and they never sold in big numbers with the exception of the 360 era. But they continue to support because hardware is what moves technology forward in the hardware space. Secondly, they seem to forget that Microsoft doesn't only rely on hardware sales for their brand and Xbox division to strive and move forward, because hardware sales do not make money for any company, even Nintendo with all of their Switch sales. The Switch has two SKUs, one that's $200 and one that's $300, and then the $380 with the OLED. So it has three SKUs. Okay? 3 SKUs. So even though the Switch has 3 SKUs, right? They're selling at a much lower margin than an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S and a PS4, right? Because those consoles are $400 and $500 respectively. But one of the biggest things that you guys, meaning people like Destin and Gary, keeps forgetting and don't take into accountability that the sales of Xbox are lower because they've always had a lower following, number one. But no generation, like in the 360 or the Xbox One or the OG Xbox, had to deal with something called the COVID. The COVID, the COVID crash that we had that affected everything for over 2.5 years, almost 3 years, which things are starting to normalize now as far as game development of bigger games coming out more frequently and with better quality. That's one of the biggest factors. With Sony's PlayStation, yeah, they still sold more numbers even though COVID was around because they don't have nothing else that they offer. Microsoft has other options and they offer much more things to people, so they don't rely on the hardware sales. Microsoft can have you playing their games via Game Pass on a phone, on a tablet, on a laptop, on PC, and on hardware. So they're not reliant on hardware. Hardware sales for Microsoft is like the cherry on top, right? It's like the cherry on top of a cake. It's extra money for them to just put on their pockets. Like I was saying, money to put in their pockets. Sorry for the interruption. Because Microsoft has always used hardware sales as a vehicle, like I said earlier, to push technology and advanced technology on and in the console space. The way that AMD does and NVIDIA does in the PC space with graphic cards and sound cards and all those type of things, right? So for Microsoft, when you're sitting there trying to say that they have, which probably at this point they have about 35, maybe 40 million units out there, right? Sold, Xbox Series X, because they said that it's very close to the sales of 360 at this point, and you're trying to make it seem like that's a bad thing, something to worry about. How does that make any logical sense if the 360 era did not have a COVID crisis? Neither did the OG era, and neither did the Xbox One generation. They didn't have a COVID crisis, which delayed everything and interfered with everything for, like I said, almost 2.5 years to 3 years. Right? So they didn't have to deal with that. And yet still the Xbox Series consoles are at the same point of sale as the 360 was at this point in its life cycle, which means it's a good thing. That means it's doing well, right? Just like just a few months ago or a few weeks ago, it was reported by Amazon that they have 4 million Xbox units sell within 1 or 2 days after the release of the college football, which you could only play it through the pass for the first 10 hours, I believe, or whatever the hell it was, for the first, 10 hours or something like that, the trial period. And people went out in droves and bought the series consoles, whether it was S or X, doesn't matter, right? And the sales went all the way up and it sold out. It was number one on Amazon and even sold out in all other venues. Okay? That is not something that is indicative of a console selling only 30 or 25 million, which is the fucking goddamn narrative that you guys keep pushing. You keep saying 25 to 29 million, and you've been saying this since the last 5, 4, 3 years. Console sales don't stay stuck, just like when they sell a bunch of consoles during the Black Friday. They don't stay in the same number. That's not how that works. Because although PlayStation has 61 million consoles sold, if you go look at the data of the returns, it's the most returned console there is. Okay, which I have that chart and I can put it somewhere in here and show it. As a matter of fact, I'll pause and come right back. There you go. There's the chart. It's the most returned console out there, out of all the consoles. So that kind of defeats the purpose. It means it sold 61, but many people have returned it because they're not happy with it. They were much happier with the PS4. Whether it's because, they don't have a lot of games at the moment to offer because most of their games are cross-gen, because that's another thing. Another reason why this generation is not moving as fast as others, right? Not only was COVID a factor, but because of COVID, they haven't had enough next-gen only titles, okay, on Xbox and PlayStation, right? So, since they haven't had a lot of next-gen only titles, right, then people haven't really felt the need of having to just go out and buy, right, a new console, because they can still play it on PS4, especially PS4, because like 90% of their games to this point are all cross-gen. At least on Xbox, you had Flight Simulator, The Medium, what was it, the Gunk, Crossfire X, the Forza that just came out, Motorsport, I believe even Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite were all just next gen. They weren't cross gen. If I'm wrong, correct me down in the description below. As far as I know, right? My recollections. Remember, I forget things sometimes because I'm diabetic, so forgive me for that. I'm not trying to give false information, okay? So because of this, a lot of people have been hesitant. And I'm telling you now that the flow of games is going to be more predominant, right? Just like when you saw when Starfield came out, it had 6 million people playing Starfield before it even launched with the with the early bird special that you paid $100 and you were able to play the game. 6 million people before anything, right? Which tells you if there and people were buying Xbox consoles to play Starfield. Literally. So even if there's, lower sales, it's not indicative, because the truth of the matter is, once games like Indiana Jones start coming out, Stalker 2, South of Midnight, Avowed, Perfect Dark, Fable, which are big hitters, right? Coming soon to Xbox, and Blade, for example, people will go out and buy an Xbox because Microsoft is not going to put all those games on PlayStation. Even though you guys swear up and down they are not. They're not going to do that. They're not dumb. The games they put over were there for a reason. Hi-Fi Rush was basically trying to save the studio and trying to see if they would get a bigger margin of sales or upgrowth of sales before they made the decision of what they were going to do, whether it was to close them down or, as we saw, that they sold off, which I'm going to do another video on that as well. So, again, Pentiment, small game. That was just the real reason Microsoft put those games there, which you guys seem to think is just because they're trying to see how they can do to put all their games there, is because they want to make sure that if they go back to court with any future acquisitions or any other accusations that's done by the government trying to say that they're monopolizing things by that Neela Khan bitch or person, right, that's giving them a hard time trying to make a name for herself, right, that they can show proof, no, we are not monopolizing. We put set games on other platforms as well, like Minecraft, right? They're trying to just show and cut and protect their corner, right, or their backs for any future endeavors that may happen, because they are going to continue to acquire because they need to, because Game Pass needs to continue to have games frequently, so they're going to continue to acquire, right? And this is how you cover your back and cover your bases, by showing proof that you put games on other platforms, that you don't just keep games hostages or hostage. And in this case, the big games like a Blade, they're not stupid, or like an Indiana Jones that they know is going to sell and is going to create attraction and attention. They're not going to go put it on a PlayStation so you can buy it on a PlayStation. Just because it's on Game Pass doesn't mean anything. Okay? That's not what they're doing. So, the fact that you guys keep thinking, oh, they're going to get out of business, Microsoft's hardware is not a Surface. It's not a Surface tablet. That's very expensive. It's in the $2,000 and $2,500 margin. That's why they've had a drop in sale. Plus, it's a tablet, basically. It's not a hardware machine that you can play at home with video games and do other stuff in media, like watch movies and view your apps like YouTube and things of that nature. It's not the same thing, even though you can do it to a certain extent on that tablet, right? But it's different. That's an on-the-go piece, right? Just like a phone. It's on the go, right? Microsoft was not going to be able to stay in the phone business because Apple is way too big and so is Android. And they're competing with two of the biggest giants that everybody buys those phones. So that's why they got out, because you're trying to make it seem, oh, due to the low sales, they just stopped doing it. Of course, Destin, because they had no opportunity, no way that they were going to grow in that space, okay? With consoles, they're always going to have people buying their console because they always offer the best technology and features and upgrades of any other company, because Sony never can compete when it comes to Xbox. Neither can Nintendo, right? With their gimmicks that they basically copy always from other people that did it first, or other companies that did it first. Okay? So the hardware console players are always going to exist. So they're always going to want to play on a console. So Xbox is not dumb. They're going to have their console hardware for those who like hardware. The same way they know people that like PC will play on PC, or people that play on their phone play on their phone. That is why they're trying to make sure that they're in all those spaces via cloud and via the Xbox Game Pass, because they want to make sure people play where they feel comfortable. And you guys always also fail to mention that they are the best and easiest way to acquire a console to begin with. For example, you have Xbox All Access. With Xbox All Access, Microsoft is able to deliver and give people the freedom of buying the console via a layaway system with no interest, and they can play the console, have it day and day, and own it for 2 years with no interest and pay it off, and make it very easy. Sony and Nintendo doesn't have that. So they continue to give you a bunch of options, and people are going to gravitate to those options and continue to move forward, and it will continue to grow. But when I guarantee you, when things like when like Fable and Perfect Dark and the upcoming Indiana Jones, when those games start to come out, the Xbox sales will go up exponentially and continue to go up. Same way when GTA comes out. You guys think that when GTA comes out, being only exclusive on console is not going to move console sales? If you guys really think that, you're crazy. GTA is going to be the game like the way The Witcher 3 had in the Xbox One and PS4 generation. That domino effect where everybody's going to start going out and buying more consoles because it's only available on hardware. And if Microsoft really does have the marketing rights, as is being rumored, it will help Microsoft in a lot of ways. They need a marketing right deal like that because it would help them with the popularity, perception, because they have GTA as a marketing tool for Xbox hardware sales. You see? So they're never going to get out of the hardware business. That's not going to happen. It doesn't matter if their sales are dropping, because Microsoft doesn't rely, again, like I said before, on hardware sales. Nintendo and Sony only rely on hardware sales because that's all they have to offer. They don't have a cloud service where they can play their games on a PC or on a tablet or on a phone, with the exception of Nintendo because it's a portable hybrid and you can play it at home. But again, they only can play their set games and some third party. They can't play bigger third party games like GTA because it's not coming. You won't be able to play GTA on a Switch. So that's not going to benefit and help them in any way. That will help and benefit Xbox and PlayStation 5, absolutely, but not Switch. So again, and then you guys act like the Wii U sold the most consoles of all Nintendo consoles in history. But because it wasn't, the ratio of the game sales wasn't good enough, right? It was like 1 or 2 games per console sold. They went and started another generation with the Wii U, and then the Wii U sold only like 19 million units and became a complete disaster for them. Then they moved on again and did the Switch, and they said it before they even released the Switch, or after they released the Switch, they said it clear as day. If the Switch would have never did well or sold, we would have had to go bankrupt, because that's how badly they were hurt from the Wii U and the Wii before the Switch. So just because Microsoft sales with the Xbox One and Xbox Series X is not doing as good as, let's say, the 360, doesn't mean with their next console especially if they make it like a hybrid that's very connected with PC stuff like Steam and also hardware elements, and letting you play your old games and disc, right? For full backwards compatibility with no nuisance and no interruptions from companies and licenses. That does not mean that they won't have success with the next console. And that goes for everybody. PlayStation 4 was successful. PS5 really isn't as successful. Most people don't like it. They don't like it. Most people think it's garbage. So, again, that's why you see 50% of players still on PlayStation 4. But one of the reasons that I wanted to do this is because you guys fail to always mention COVID and the fact that there hasn't really been a big next-gen AAA hitter like a Starfield, which on Xbox it has been, on PlayStation and Xbox, right? It's been minimal for people to actually want to go out and continue to buy new hardware. More people should have been buying Xbox, absolutely. It makes more sense, especially that they offered more games. I don't know why they haven't bought games more. They bought on PS5 with less games that are next gen because they're all cross gen. Doesn't make any sense. But the point is, you guys keep failing to mention this, and this is a big, big detail that you're not supposed to fail and stop mentioning it. You guys are supposed to be more accurate, more detailed, and think thoroughly about what you're talking about, instead of playing that fear-mongering role like, oh, if the sales of Xbox keep getting lower and lower, they're going to get out of the hardware business. No, they're not. That's not how that works. Because, again, Microsoft doesn't rely only on hardware. The hardware sales for Microsoft is like chump change in their pocket. Okay? And that's a fact. So that's what I wanted to get out there to you guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you agree with me, if you don't, if you understand where I'm coming from, if you don't, or if you think Destin and IGN and Paracility and all those guys that continue to just be one-minded and dimensional and fail to always mention all of the details that they always like to leave out, that they're the ones that are right. So regardless, you let me know in the comments below. Leave a thumbs up if you like, leave a thumbs down if you didn't like. And as usual, share my video with other people you think might like it. If you guys want to find me any social media platform, you can find me. I'm anywhere in the description below. I'll have them all linked there, and you guys can, basically, you guys can find me or search for me there, and I'll be more than glad to talk to you. Just DM me in personal DMs or whatever, and it'll be perfectly fine. And also, like I said, if you want to get a whole file on the channel any way, shape, or form, regardless of your heart, you can. It's all down in the description below. I'll see you guys very soon in another video. Love you, and Xbox for life, like a sickness that can't be cured. That's my saying. That's my slogan. Don't get triggered, people. It's all gaming. It's all in good fun. See you next.